Welcome back to Emotions and Potions.
A love/hate letter 2 with your fabulous hosts, Ashton
and Alex.
And welcome back this week as we are continuing on in our
ACOTAR journey.
Yeah, we're hitting you guys hard with book number 2.
A Court of Mist and Fury. Still by Sarah J. Maas.
All right, so we're just going to get right down to it this week and mention some content and trigger warnings that you might see in A Court of Mist and Fury. Those include forced sex work, sexual assault, physical and emotional abuse, child abuse, PTSD, depression, panic attacks, arranged marriage, murder, and torture.
All with a fantasy twist.
Oh, with some fae. All right, Alex, hit us with that synopsis.
The seductive and stunning #1 New York Times best-selling sequel to the Sarah J. Maas spellbinding A Court of Thorns and Roses. Feyre has undergone more trials than one human can carry in her heart. Though she's now been granted the powers and lifespan of the High Fae, she is haunted by her time under the mountain and the terrible deeds she performed to save the lives of Tamlin and his people. As her marriage to Tamlin approaches, Feyre's hollowness and nightmares consume her. She finds herself split into two different people, one who upholds her bargain with Rhysand, High Lord of the feared Night Court, and one who lives out her life in the Spring Court with Tamlin. While Feyre navigates a dark web of politics, passion, and dazzling power, a greater evil looms. She might just be the key to stopping it, but only if she can harness her harrowing gifts, heal her fractured soul, and decide how she wishes to shape her future and the future of a world in turmoil.
I like that synopsis.
Yeah, I feel like it only really covers like part 1 and part 2 for the most part.
But I'm not mad at that.
Oh,
I
not
like
bad.
some mystery.
Yeah.
I think I would rather have a synopsis not give too much away versus giving everything away where you're like, well,
It gives enough.
yeah.
It gives enough.
I mean, that's like the overview premise of the whole book, I would say.
yeah.
So, well done.
Nice job.
All right. As for our potion this week, what concoction have you mixed up for us today, Alex?
I'm excited. I feel like I'm always excited for this part, though. You helped me name this one. This is Velaris Dreams.
It was a joint effort. We bounced back and forth.
We did.
Okay, so what is in a Velaris Dream?
We got some pomegranate juice. We got some tart cherry juice, some honey simple syrup, some lime seltzer, and of course, busting out the luster dust again, this time with some purple and silver. And then add some gin, preferably Hendrick's Lunar gin. But, if you want to keep it a mocktail, don't do that.
All right, let's try this purple drink.
It's very Night Court-esque.
It's very nice.
Cheers.
Yum.
I like
that.
it.
Fruity.
But like tart, not too sweet,
Yeah.
just like the Night Court.
Yeah, I definitely taste the pomegranate, which is nice. I like that.
And the tart cherry juice is supposed to like help you go night-night. And, Rhysand's powers make you go night-night.
And I also like the pomegranate because this is kind of like a Hades Persephone retelling.
Yeah.
So pomegranates is a nice little bridge binding between the Greek myth and this book. So
And it's a really nice dark juice, which, helped me keep this dark, mysterious color.
yes, love it.
Yay.
All right, so before we go into our plot breakdown, we are going to do this episode a little bit different than we normally do.
Because this was a thick book.
This had a lot of stuff going on. It's a pretty heavy read, as in page count.
And just things happening.
Yeah, and so this book is naturally split into 3 sections. So we are going to do a plot breakdown for section 1, and then we are going to kind of talk about our loves and hates right after that. And then we'll go into section 2, loves and hates, and then finish it out with section 3, loves and hates. So instead of just doing all plot, then our loves and hates,
Give you a little bit of a taste of each throughout.
yeah, it'll be a little bit more fluid this episode. And then obviously we'll wrap it up with our casting, our song choices, our overall rankings, spice rankings, and then if it's a love or a hate letter.
Let's get into it.
All right, Alex.
All right, so part 1 is House of the Beast. This book takes place 3 months after the events of Under the Mountain. Feyre and Tamlin are engaged, and a high priestess, Ianthe, is helping Feyre with wedding planning and the expectations of being married to a High Lord. They get along all right. Feyre is just happy to have Ianthe there to make decisions for her. Ianthe does seem like an attention-seeking and power-hungry bitch with boundary and consent issues, though. Tamlin is dealing with High Lord business and the fallout of Amarantha's defeat and intentionally excludes Feyre from any and all information and basically anything that he perceives as dangerous to Feyre. And our girl Feyre, she's struggling with some PTSD, some nightmares and depression as a result of her actions, mostly the killing of the 2 fairies under the mountain. And Tamlin's trauma response is to be overbearing and suffocating with protection, which isn't helping Feyre's condition. It's actually making things a whole lot worse. Lucian is stuck between a rock and a hard place with the whole thing. He doesn't like what's being done to Feyre. However, as Tamlin's second in command, he's trying to, help bring order back to the Spring Court, and he must obey his High Lord. Plus, where is Lucian supposed to take Feyre, as she still wants to marry Tamlin? And, both Tamlin and Feyre are being buttheads to Lucian. So then we get to the day of Feyre and Tamlin's wedding. Feyre is getting severe cold feet and having a panic attack while walking down the aisle and is internally begging for anyone to save her. Cue the dramatic entrance from the High Lord of the Night Court, Rhysand. He hears her pleas of help through their Under the Mountain bargain bond and decides to claim his 1-week-a-month visit to the Night Court. So he whisks Feyre away. Very dramatic. During her first visit to the Night Court, Feyre is still loyal to Tamlin and trying to keep Rhysand at arm's length, not trusting his motives and just trying to suss him out. Though our boy is doing more for Feyre in a week than Tamlin has for the past however many months she's been with him. He helps her learn to read and write and work on her mental shields, and gives her more information about her fairy transformation, potential powers she may have, and what is to come in King Hybern's threat to the mortal and fairy lands. He also offers her a chance to have a role in the upcoming war and how valuable she can be. But Feyre isn't buying it just yet. When Feyre returns to the Spring Court, Tamlin puts her back in lockdown, which starts to piss Feyre off to the point where, guess what? Her power gifts from the High Lords start to break free. Tamlin, instead of doing the smart thing of letting her train and find out what gifts and powers she has, just wants to ignore it. But since he got a little scared of her, he does try to give her a little bit more freedom compared to the non-existent one she had. And then it's tax collection time for the Spring Court, and Feyre winds up assisting a water wraith who cannot pay their taxes. She gives this water wraith her jewels so she can cover it. And Tamlin was not happy about this. Things between Feyre and Tamlin are good for a bit until Rhys shows back up to claim his next visitation right. The second visit to the Night Court is less productive, but Rhysand does use this time to try and build a friendship with Feyre and help her with her healing process. Feyre goes back to the Spring Court, and this time her confinement to the manor is worse than ever. Ianthe is Team Tamlin all the way, and any attempt Lucian has made on Feyre's behalf, or Feyre makes herself, is shut down. Tamlin must venture close to Hybern's territory, and Feyre insists on going with him, but he magically seals her in the house and takes off. This confinement is Feyre's breaking point, and she spins out of control with panic, and her magic is flying, activating a major distress signal to Rhysand, Rhysand's cousin, and friend to Feyre, after Rhys penetrates Tamlin's protection wards on the manor, collects Feyre and brings her to the Night Court.
And that is part 1.
Yeah. So what did we love and hate about it?
I loved Rhysand's epic arrival for the first time in this book on her wedding day, on Feyre's wedding day. I thought that was very on brand.
It gave me
Hades.
That, and also Loki, when he comes down, is your savior has arrived.
Yeah. I feel that was, I was curious reading up to this point that had been 3 or 4 months or something like that, and he hadn't collected on any of his weekly or monthly visits. And so I was wondering, how is he going to...
When is it going to start? How's it going to happen?
And, that was just the perfect... I really appreciate that.
Same. I do wish we actually got the scene of Tamlin proposing to Feyre. It was just kind of oh yeah, by the way, they're engaged.
Yeah, it was literally a sentence, I think.
Yeah.
Where it mentioned that he takes her out into the fields or whatever, and then he proposes and they make love, and...
But it was just so just kind of meh.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have that little heartwarming moment before all of this bullshit.
But you know what? I also wonder, because reflecting back onto the first book, you know, I felt like there was something missing between Tamlin and Feyre from like the get in book 1. And I wonder if that was like Sarah's like purpose is to not get readers super invested in their relationship because it's not
the end goal one.
The end goal relationship. So it's like maybe she purposefully kind of left things very vague between them because she doesn't want people to get like confused or have thoughts about Feyre.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it would have been nice though, because then, you know, Feyre's just like, oh no, I have to be loyal to Tamlin. Oh, I still have feelings for Tamlin. And meanwhile, I'm reading this like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
And like,
so if I had that scene, I may like have understood her struggle with telling him to F off.
Yeah, and see, that was one of my hates is I feel like her panic walking down that aisle to get married should have been an indication to her that this relationship is not it.
Like, that should have been the hugest red flag. That should have been stadium-size red flag hitting her in the face. And then when Rhys gets her, she starts yelling at him, like, why did you do this?
I'm like, honey, he saved you.
You were literally begging for any and anyone to come get you out of this situation. And when it happens, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because
How dare you?
Because she was about to also say no in front of everyone of the importance of the Spring Court. And Tamlin, obviously. So, like, the fact, though, that she still, after the first night court visit with Rhys, when she, like, goes back to the Spring Court, the fact that she's still, like, all for Tamlin annoys me because I'm like, okay, so you are just, like, in denial. You feel this loyalty towards him that, like, you really shouldn't because this relationship is not healthy.
No, not at all. Not at all. Something funny I realized with Feyre's visit once a month. Rhys was basically her period.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a month. I'll be coming to collect.
For a week.
For a week, 7 days. Have fun. Yeah, that's funny. I
was also on my period when, like, that realization happened.
Well, there you go. I did like Feyre helping the water wraith.
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice, especially, too, because, one, it pissed Tamlin off. He hated that Feyre did that, and I love that. But also, it seemed like water wraiths are, like, very lesser fairies.
Mm-hmm.
So people were even kind of like, why would you help
them out of all the fairies you could help? You chose them.
Yeah, like, But I think that shows really good character kind of imagery of Feyre and Tamlin.
Yeah.
It shows like how kind of different. And something that they kept saying is like, you know, Feyre is now immortal, but she still has a human heart. And like that is showing that like, how she still differs from the rest of like the High Fae. And I liked that.
Me too. That was really sweet. I felt bad for Lucian this whole time, like of this part. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, he's definitely between a rock and a hard place. This whole book, really.
Yeah. It's like he literally, there's nothing he can do that is like 100% right.
No.
And it's like in this part, in part 1, like literally what was he going to do to step in with Feyre and Tamlin? Like he can't take her to another
Well, he can't
court.
go against his high lord.
Yeah.
He's an implant because he's not from the Spring Court.
Yeah.
Like and also like when I was reading it, I kind of was like, Feyre, you've literally been friends with him for 8 months ish. He's literally known Tamlin for hundreds of years. You can't be like, you were my friend. You're supposed to blah, blah. I'm like, bitch, there's
You're supposed
a
to pick me.
Yeah. And like, sorry, but friendship for 8 months, I don't think. And he was trying. It wasn't like he wasn't doing anything.
He didn't just like completely abandon her, but it was like there was only so much he could do. And I'm not justifying Tamlin's actions because it's one of the things I hate. However, he's going through his own trauma with like what happened under the mountain and like how he couldn't do and protect her like he wanted to. So now he's like trying to overcompensate and just allow her to rest because she'd put in too much work when she was a human. And he's just like, I want you to take a load off. Is he going about it the right way and the way that Feyre needs to be handled? Absolutely not. But it's like, I can understand his train of thought in part 1. I'm going to have a totally different opinion in other parts about Tamlin, though. But part 1, I kind of see where they're both coming from. And they're just not right for each other.
Yeah, I can see where they're coming from. But at the same time, I hate how Tam approaches this whole situation.
Oh, it's awful.
I mean, like, locking her in, forcing her, like, and she, you know, if you read this book, she is constantly like, please, let me go into town. Let me go into the woods. Like, let me go on rides with you. Let me, and let Lucien and I, like, be able to go out. But, like, he has trapped her in this house. Yeah. And Feyre, you know, is no longer human. She's changing. And maybe they were compatible when she was human and he was Fae, but like he's not taking into account all of her issues. And another big hate of mine, kind of on top of that, is with the nightmares that Feyre is having almost nightly, where she is literally vomiting because she's having these like flashback PTSD moments. And her and Tamlin are in bed together and he acts like he doesn't even know what's going on. Like he doesn't wake up to comfort her.
Yeah,
he doesn't do anything. Like she doesn't even know if he's awake or not.
Doesn't he wind up leaving her like after they like hook up? Because he has his own rooms.
Well, I think that it gets to the point where he stops visiting her in general.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if he ever like bangs her and leaves, but like,
yeah.
I kind of was like, how are you not waking up? And
I got no justification for that.
Yeah, you're literally just laying in bed, listening to the girl you love, like throwing up, being sick, waking up in panic attacks. But like Tamlin also woke up in panic attacks. But I feel like Feyre comforted him and helped him, but like it was not reciprocated.
No.
I don't like that.
Me either. And then also him sealing her in the house. The fuck.
Yeah.
Like that's when all my sympathy for like, you know what, you both have your own stuff that you're going through, and you're not being good partners because like your communication and like way of grieving is very different. But it's like he started crossing lines where it's like, nope, no, fuck off, sir.
Yeah, I just got the feeling that Tamlin wants a wife who is title only. He wants somebody who is just going to be his lady, who will plan the parties, who will do the social stuff, who's going to look pretty, but not ask questions, not get involved. And like that wasn't ever Feyre even when she was human.
No. He wants a trophy wife. That's never going to be Feyre.
Like there are so many red flags that I wish that Feyre like saw so much sooner.
Same. Would have saved us a lot of heartache and probably 100 pages of reading.
Seriously. I'm like, girl, you've been with this guy for less than a year. You don't owe him shit.
Not a damn thing.
And you're immortal, which means that like if you marry him, you are stuck with him forever. Forever. And like you guys are not vibing. I think that also just shows that she's like 19 at heart.
Right.
Like, she's young.
So I do think he was good for her for a time in book 1. Like when she did get taken into Prythian.
And like he helped her family a lot.
He helped her family.
There were good things.
There were some good things, but it's like he is completely just trash in any semblance of good he did with his actions in this book.
There's just no communication from at all.
No. At least not healthy communication, because when Tamlin speaks, he only hears himself and his word is law, and then he doesn't want to hear shit else.
And I do really like when she's at the night court that Rhys is becoming like a friend, or like trying to at this point be like her friend, is teaching her to read, how to write. He's like there for her, and he, like you mentioned, is doing way more than Tamlin has done to help her with her like PTSD, and he's not lying about things and being like, girl, you could be pretty powerful. Like, you potentially have the powers of all 7 High Lords at your disposal. Yeah. Where Tamlin is like, blinders.
No, you're just my pretty wife.
You're just
Give me babies.
Yeah.
Have parties. Give me babies. Like, that's all he wants.
So, like, I like Rhys in part 1. I think that he's good for...
Same.
And what about Ianthe? What were your thoughts on her?
All right, so this was a reread again. I was able to pick up on more stuff this second time around, but even the first time around, I always felt a little suspect of her. I was just like, I don't know about this bit. But this time through, it was really kind of like, oh, yeah, the writing is on the wall with her.
See, because you mentioned something about like how you hated her. as a character. And I was still in the process of actually like reading this for the first time. But like I personally didn't really like pay all that much attention to her. Like, yeah, she was a decent part of part 1. She was around a lot. But like all I really picked up was like she was kind of Feyre's like handler.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of was, you know, she helped pick out the wedding dress. She helped plan the wedding. She helped Feyre like with things like that, getting ready for...
She didn't help Feyre. She just did.
Right. But that was helping Feyre because Feyre had no interest in any of that shit. But when I was reading it the first time, like I wasn't picking up on any of these like power hungry, like I wasn't picking up on this. I don't know. I think I have to like reread it.
Yeah. Because then once you know, it's like then
yeah.
It's interesting sometimes going back and rereading books because then you do see these little clues that authors kind of drop within there.
And I think that she's one. I think that if you're not paying attention, you're not going to pick up on it.
I feel like the first read, you're kind of indifferent towards her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt.
And then the second read, it's like, oh, here are the little breadcrumbs. And like, oh, this little subtle move that she did, oh, that totally kind of was foreshadowing
other stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can appreciate that type of writing.
Mm-hmm. It makes you want to reread stuff, especially, you know, like if you really get invested. I mean, to read this series, it's a time investment, potentially a money investment if you're not checking them out from your local library.
That'll be interesting if I ever do reread this series, if I'll pick up on it.
On to part 2.
Part 2.
House of Wind. So Rhysand offers Feyre sanctuary at the Night Court for as long as she wishes and offers her to work for him, and he will return her whenever she wants. No questions asked. Rhys has to check on a secret part of his territory, and not wanting to be left behind, Feyre requests to come along. He allows it, provided she swears to never reveal the existence of this territory. Velaris, the city of starlight. Feyre agrees. He takes her to his family and private home and gets bombarded by his inner circle that Feyre doesn't meet yet. Thankfully, she is finally given the freedom to go and do as she pleases within Rhys's territory. As Feyre gets a tour of Velaris, an intact and thriving city that has been hidden for 5,000 years, she gets angry at Rhys for allowing this to exist and not doing more while everywhere else suffered. She gets especially upset when she sees the artist district because she hasn't been painting since Under the Mountain, so this really sets her off. Feyre wants to unleash her rage on the city, and Rhysand has to remind her that his people are blameless and reels her in. Feyre meets the inner circle and learns the hierarchy. Rhysand is the High Lord. Amren is second in command. She's not a Fae creature. She's something older and even more powerful than Rhys. Mor, Rhys's cousin, is third in command. Azriel is the spy master, and Cassian is the commander of Rhys's army. After a dinner with the inner circle and exchanging of backstories, Feyre considers working with them and accepts Cassian's offer for fight training. Feyre finally starts to understand why Rhys did all he did to keep Velaris safe and is starting to let go of her grudge against him. Rhys also drops the bomb that King Hybern wants to remake Jurian. To get answers on how Jurian can be remade, Rhys and Feyre must pay a visit to the Bone Carver. When they go to a magical jail to visit the Bone Carver to get information about what Hybern plans to do with the necklace and ring that contain Jurian's soul, the Bone Carver appears differently to each of them and will exchange answers to questions and secrets. They learn that Hybern is planning on putting the cauldron, which has been lost for centuries, back together, which could be used to shatter the wall and bring Jurian back to life. And the only way to defeat the cauldron is with the Book of Breathings, which has been split in two halves and belongs with one belonging to the Summer Court and the other to the Human Queens. When they return and fill the inner circle in on this new news and start to develop a plan to retrieve the Book of Breathings, Feyre should be able to wield any sort of like spells and power and just like hold the book itself, because she is something that was made. It is decided that they are first going to test her tracking ability with retrieving something from the Weaver. They are also going to be paying a visit to Feyre's family and searching the Mortal Lands. They are also going to be paying a visit to Feyre's family when searching the Mortal Lands for the part of the book and contacting the Human Queens. Time to face the Weaver and Feyre's ability to sense where this item for Rhys is. And he tells her it's a ring that she's going to be looking for. She retrieves it and battles a panic attack and narrowly escapes the Weaver, while Rhys just is chilling back in the clearing, doing not a damn thing. When they return to the townhouse, Rhys allows Feyre into his mind and shows her why he does not trust Ianthe. Turns out she was very aggressively and non-consensually coming on to Rhys and sexually assaulting him and trying to will her way into his bed to gain power. She wanted to marry him and have babies with him. He turned her down and forbade her from continuing her actions in his kingdom, and also kind of kicked her out. Feyre returns home and informs her sisters of what happened to her under the mountain and the threat of Hybern, and she requests for their home to be a meeting place for the meeting between the High Fae and the human queens. Elaine and Nesta eventually agree. They are quite weary of this at first, though. When Feyre is training with Rhys in the human lands, the Adder attempts to kidnap her, and Rhys saves her. They learn Hybern wants Feyre, and there is an army coming soon. Feyre writes to Tamlin a letter thanking him for all that he did for her, and that she has left the Spring Court of her own accord and not to come looking for her. Rhys, Feyre, and Amren head to the Summer Court to steal the fairy half of the Book of Breathings. The three participate in some scheming and flirting, which reveals the location of the book. Feyre and Amren go into the temple to steal it and are helped out in escaping the temple by Water Wraith. The three are now marked for betraying the Summer Court. It turns out the book is in Amren's language and not only holds the key to destroying the cauldron, but also could help get her home. Amren will need the other half of the book to be able to decode it, though. After some time, the Mortal Queens finally agree to a meeting, which does not go well. They refuse to give the other half of the Book of Breathings and aren't going to offer aid to the human realm near the wall. And Moore lets the queens have it for their foolishness and lets it be known the last human to be turned immortal, Miriam, still lives. The queens, they require proof that Rhysand isn't a monster that he's been made out to be and that his intentions are good, and then maybe they will consider giving up the book.
Feyre learns the truth of Miriam, Draken, and Jurian. Rhysand decides he is going to show the queens the city of Velaris, and they must pay a visit to the Court of Nightmares to retrieve the Orb of Truth to further help their cause with the queens. While at the Court of Nightmares, they get attacked with ash arrows. Rhys and Feyre turn up the heat in their flirting, and Feyre gets called a whore by Moore's father, Kerr. When Rhys and Feyre return to the townhouse, they get into an argument, and Feyre crosses the line. Then after her fuck-up, she realizes she wants to give Rhys a chance sexually and see if they can be anything. A few days later, it's the Starfall celebrations. Rhys and Feyre make up and share a kiss while they dance. Before heading back to Feyre's human home to meet with the queens, the Inner Circle make a pit stop at an Illyrian training camp. Feyre gets more training and learns more about the bromance bond with the Bat Boys, and learns the truth of the feud between Tamlin and Rhysand. While Feyre was training, Lucien, who has been hunting her for months, finally finds her and tries to bring her back to the Spring Court. Lucien fails in this mission after pretty much Feyre
whoops that ass.
Yeah, she essentially morphs. What do they call it? Shapeshift.
Yeah.
She shapeshifts
into an
Illyrian. So she has wings, talons, the whole thing. After the encounter with Lucien, Rhys takes Feyre to an inn. They start to give into their physical desires for each other without going all the way.
Which was lame. I mean, I'm glad to finally get some action, but damn it.
Right. The following day, they come under attack again by poison ash arrows, and Rhys gets hit and taken. Feyre tracks and rescues Rhys after she helps get the arrows out of him. She goes searching for the cereal. Feyre asks the cereal for an antidote to the arrow's poison, which she gets, and the cereal lets it slip that Rhysand is Feyre's mate. Feyre gets extremely pissed that Rhys has known about the mating bond and hasn't said anything to her about it. He tries to explain his side, but stupid Feyre doesn't want to hear it and demands to be taken back to the Illyrian camp. Then Moore takes Feyre to a cabin because she is throwing a fit. And that is the end of part 2. A lot happens in part 2. Part 2 is the bulk of the book pages-wise.
But those were the key points.
Yes. So something I think that I want to touch on real quick was the truth between the feud of Tamlin and Rhys.
Yeah.
So we know that Rhys's dad killed Tamlin's family.
Mm-hmm.
But what Tamlin just happened to leave out was the fact that Tamlin and Rhys were kind of friends. Tamlin betrayed Rhys's trust. They went to a cabin where he was supposed to be, but it was just his mom and sister. Tamlin, his dad and brothers kill Rhys's mom and sister. And then Rhys and his dad retaliate. And that's where the feud, then they killed Tamlin's whole family.
And then Rhys's dad was going to kill Tamlin after he killed, Tamlin's mom. And Rhys was like, no, we weren't supposed to touch the women. So then he got tired of, just all this bloodshed. And that's when Tamlin was able to kill Rhys's dad.
And then they both get the power of, the High Lord at the same time. And then Rhys dips. So, yeah, Tamlin left some important things out in that retelling.
Definitely.
Not a fan. So then Feyre is really pissed. Oh my God.
She's like, how could I have ever loved him in the first place? She's really starting to doubt if her feelings were even genuine.
And she, in part 2, really struggled with trying to get over Tamlin.
Mm-hmm.
And that loyalty that she still felt for him. But it was the more she learned and the more we learn as readers, we're Tamlin is a POS.
Yeah.
Are you for real?
I did love learning the backstory to everybody in the inner circle, in this part, and how this band of misfits found each other and how much they just care and love one another. They are all truly a family.
Yeah, because Amarin is not Fae.
No.
She's otherworldly. And then you have Rhys, who's the most powerful High Lord ever.
And he's only half Illyrian. He's Fae, and then
his mom's Illyrian. And then you have Cassian, who is one of the most, one of the strongest warriors, the Illyrian warriors ever.
Mm-hmm. And he was a bastard and got treated like crap.
Yeah, had a very, very tough upbringing as a child at the camps. The Illyrians, I would not want to be born into their system.
Yeah.
Especially as a woman.
And then you got Azrael, who's also a powerful Illyrian, and then is a shadow singer, which is very rare.
And he was also a bastard.
And his family treated him like crap. Where Cassian didn't really have his family growing up. Azrael did, but they were not good people.
No. And then you have Moore, whose dad kind of runs the City of Nightmares. Kind of. It's kind of like Rhys's
he's almost like a liaison.
Yeah.
It's Moore is actually the head of it.
Yeah.
But when she's doing stuff, it's he's part of the council sort of thing. He has power, but he doesn't have power.
Right.
It's he has the air of power.
Yeah.
A fake facade of it.
Yeah, and it definitely goes to his head. And she had a very tough upbringing. They really honor women's virginity and using
and not
them
in a good way.
Yeah, and using them to sell them off to the highest bidder, to the most powerful fae. And that was kind of Moore's path until she put a stop to it herself.
Yeah, 'cause she was supposed to marry Lucian's brother.
And he was sadistic and terrible. And she didn't want that. Obviously, who would? So yeah, they're just super, super powerful, and they all have very interesting backstories. And it was very cool to learn about them.
It's they all have their own traumas. They've all found each other and have just figured a way kind of out of the darkness. And they're just a cute little band of misfits, and I love them.
Yeah, and I also really like how different his Rhys's inner circle is, and how he treats his inner circle is than Tamlin. You can't even compare the two. Rhys doesn't really act like their ruler or the head honcho unless he's making calls that they respect.
Yeah.
They respect the hierarchy, but their banter
it's
they don't,
funny.
when they're not being serious about things, you would never know that like Rhys ranks supreme. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't give that vibe.
No, because even though there is technically a hierarchy and like levels of power, it's kind of very Knights of the Round Table. Like everyone has like an equal seat at the table.
Yeah. I also really liked how the water wreaths came back to play because in part 1, remember, she helps them. And the water wreath does say, I am in your debt. And her and Amryn were about to literally drown in this temple getting one part of the book. And the water wreaths, they were the ones that saved them.
Yep, and got them out.
And I love like that full circle. And then like after they were saved, the fairies were like, our sister's debt is paid, and swim away.
Yep,
and like,
good.
But I love like when that kind of shit happens in books where you're just like, I knew it was gonna like.
Yeah, because it's like Feyre helping the water wraith could have been like a very throwaway point, and like why did that even have to be written? Well, here's why it had to be.
Full circle, baby.
So there was a funny moment that I loved that happened. Feyre runs into a post after like Rhys sends her like a dirty vision of like what could have happened if he took her up on her offer to like go shopping. And she was just like really enjoying that like dirty daydream and just bonk.
That was one of the hates. I wish we got that lingerie shopping scene between the two of them because it was talked about multiple times over this whole book. And I'm like, I want that scene. Like, I want that chapter. But yeah, that was funny. I also really liked Feyre. I think when they go to the summer court, before they're stealing the book, they obviously have to find where the book is. Mm-hmm. So they're spending some time with the High Lord of the Summer Court. And, like, him and Feyre are pretty flirty. And then, like, Rhys is kind of flirty with, like, his number 2 or, like, one of the princesses of that court or whatever. And I think that this is, like, the first time that you really see that Feyre is, like, very affected by Rhys and gets very jealous.
Yes.
Like, very jealous. Like, petty jealous. But I'm like, about damn time, girl. It's about damn time. Like, oh my God.
I struggled with Feyre mostly in these first 2 parts because, like, I hated how hard she was on Lucien and, like, her wishy-washy trust with Rhys and, like, hated how she got mad at Rhys about knowing about the mating bond and keeping it from her. When was a good time to tell you, bitch? When?
You literally were going to marry someone and love someone else.
Like, literally, when would have been a good time for him to tell you?
Yeah. And also, you know, Rhys did some pretty questionable things when they first met. Like, when they were under the mountain stuff.
So it's like she wouldn't have believed him then anyways.
And then she would just think that he's using it for his own agenda. Like, she would have freaked out. I hated the tantrum she threw.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, you're an idiot. I understand you being upset and kind of being like thrown off. Like, yeah, that's a big thing to kind of be hit in the face when you're not expecting it. But like, she does the stuff that she says that she wouldn't, which is run away from him, turn her back on him. And like, that's exactly what she does.
And like how she was when she threw back in Rhys's face, like all of his insecurities and the things that he worried about and like how he doesn't think he's good enough for anyone. And she then basically tells him that he's not. So was he supposed to tell you that he was your mate then?
And then after she says all those things, Rhys kind of like pieces out, like he needs some time to himself.
I mean, that must have been heartbreaking.
But she then is like, why won't you talk to me? Where are you? And like they do this really cute thing that we didn't really mention in the plot breakdowns, but I fucking love. They write little like letters to each other and like magic disappears and then like it, you know, they write back and forth. It's kind of like cute little like chain mail or something like that. And so she's like trying to reach out to him via that way. And like the paper's not disappearing, which means that he's like not receptive to like hearing from her. And she's like pissed about it. But I'm like, bitch, you even know that you fucked up because she does realize it pretty quickly. But I was like,
you got to give him a chance to get over it. And also you haven't said sorry.
Yeah. And then with like when she finds out about the mating bond, deucing out as he is still very, very injured, almost died.
Oh yeah, that made me mad that she made him winnow her back to the Illyrian camp while he is like...
He literally was tortured and had poisoned ash arrows all in him. And then as soon as they show up, she's like, more, take me somewhere. I can't be here. As he's like, Feyre, don't go. Like, let me
She's a cold-hearted bitch. And people think Nesta's bad. No, Feyre's fucking awful.
So, I can definitely understand your assessment when you're like, there are things that I really like about Feyre, but then there are things that really piss me off about Feyre. I 1000% get that because she acts like a spoiled brat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hun, this is not cute.
No.
You're showing your age, and you're the guy who you are now interested in that way, who's also your mate, is like 500 plus years old, and you are acting like a legit child. Like,
well, she is a legit child.
I know, but I'm like, your age is showing, Feyre. Pull it together.
All right, not to shit on Feyre too much. I did love the Starfall scene.
That was a great scene.
That was really cute.
That was cute.
And I did enjoy seeing her powers emerge and like her learn to use and control them. That was fun.
Yeah. I was a little annoyed that Lucian showed up in the night court.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have seen it coming because Tamlin's not going to take this sitting down even if Feyre wrote to him.
True.
But
I mean, it's not like he could have refused, though.
Right. But, like, I just don't like that he was even going to force her when, like, she straight up was like, no. But then he's like, what kind of spell? What has Rhys done to you?
Yeah. I mean, Rhys has played the game with, like, him being this, like, master manipulator a little too well, and it's, like, biting him in the ass.
Definitely.
You know who I felt bad for in this part? Tarkin, the summer court ruler. I felt so bad for him. He was genuinely nice and like wanting to build an alliance with Rhys and like make positive changes in the world. And like he showed Feyre like genuine kindness and like was actually interested in her. And she took advantage of that. One for the goal of getting the book, but also then to make Rhys jealous. And and then they steal from him and are like, peace out. I felt so bad for him. He seemed lovely.
Yeah, because him and Rhys definitely do seem to have similar like wants and desires for the future. So like they would have been really good like allies and friends potentially. But obviously there's bigger things going on. Hopefully they can like rekindle that friendship potentially later on. Once things aren't how they are right now, but
yeah, and then you kind of made an enemy you didn't need to have.
Yeah. And he was very like sweet on Feyre, and she did play into that. She did feel bad. Like there were multiple times where she was like, this does not feel good, knowing that I'm using him for multiple reasons. But then Rhys is kind of like, we gotta do it. He's like, I know it doesn't feel good, but it's the world at stake.
Yeah. But then it's almost like it turned out they kind of didn't need to. And it's like if they actually just kind of were like, hey, bud, here's the thing.
Maybe. I don't know. Because there was that
I do
dinner scene.
I feel like he would have given the book. I don't think his co-ruler would have.
The princess would have.
I don't think she would have been down for that.
No. Oh, well. Makes a good story.
Yeah. I just felt bad for the guy.
Oh, I have.
I also, I struggled with Moore a little bit. I mostly love her. However, I hate how she strings Azriel along.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, she's never going to reciprocate his feelings for her. And it's just a shitty thing to do. Such a good friend.
But the thing is, I think that this is in part 3, but I'll mention it here because it's not, like, that important. Feyre and Moore are having a conversation where Feyre brings up, she's like, look, I see the way that you guys kind of, like, look at each other and, like, whatever. And she's like, so has that ever happened? And she's like, no. And then Feyre's like, will it ever happen? And Moore's like, honestly, it wouldn't be on my end. It would be on his end because he also has that internal, like, he doesn't deserve her. So yeah, he pines after Moore. And like,
but Moore's not interested though.
No,
so it's like just put the boy out of his misery.
But even if Moore was interested, Azriel would never cross that line because he doesn't feel worthy of her.
But still, like, could at least kind of help him out and be like, look,
you
are fabulous.
It doesn't really seem like either of them are hurting. She also mentioned that they all kind of have like levers on the side. You know what I mean? Like, they're all getting it. And she's like, Azriel has definitely his like side pieces. He's not in your face about it, but like, he's fine.
He's not hurting for puss.
So like, let them, if he wants to pine after her, he's probably already been pining after her for 500 years. Like, I think that they're in a comfortable space. But, like, I understand, like, it is kind of shitty, too. Because, like, why would you torture yourself like that?
Yeah.
But
And torture him. He's been through enough.
I know.
That poor shadow singer.
They all have been through
They've
enough.
all been through enough. Exactly. So why continue to put your friend through misery when you know his backstory?
Yeah.
Leave the poor boy alone.
Moving on to part 3, which was House of the Mist. So Feyre spends her days wallowing alone in the cabin, thinking about all that she's learned. She finds paints and brushes and finally decides to start painting again. More visits 3 days into her stay to check in. They briefly talk about Rhysand Moore has Feyre add her as in Cassian's eyes to the mural that she started in the house, so that they're always watching over her. Feyre asks about Moore and Az. We learn nothing has happened and nothing will ever happen. Feyre finally realizes she wants a future with Rhys and the gang when Rhys finally appears at the cabin. So this is when we then get the story of how Rhys knew Feyre was his mate. So it started about 3 years before the first book. He started having dreams and would send messages back to her. So for example, the night sky that she painted for herself on her dresser back at her old home was a thought that he sent to her. He then started to get the feeling that this human meant more than what he originally thought. He specifically went to the Calamai because, remember, book 1, where they first meet, because he knew she was now in Prythian and he needed to see her. He found her as she was about to be pulled by 3 fairies and saved her. After their brief meeting, he messes with the minds of these 3 fairies and took them back to Amarantha as a ploy to show that there were traitors in the Spring Court. This gave him more leverage with Amarantha so that he could go back to the Spring Court. He was jealous that she was with Tamlin, but he was not going to force the mate bond on her. All he did leading up to the mountain and at the mountain was to ultimately protect Feyre from Amarantha. He did not know the name of the mortal that she gave him originally was real, but he reassured her that he slipped inside of Claire's mind so that she did not feel any of the torture. And he was also the one to finally end it for Claire. And he definitely felt bad about that. He finally realized he loved Feyre when Amarantha was in the process of killing her. He was the one to hold on to their mate bond that Feyre ended up also holding on to. If you remember in the first book, there was like a pole that kind of had her like holding on.
Yeah, and she just thought it was like this wanting to go home thing.
And it was Rhys holding their mating bond. He was the one that convinced all 7 High Fae to save her and ultimately had to watch her leave with Tamlin. Later that night, the binding fully snapped into place and he panicked and winnowed back to the Night Court. He was going to stay away, but the bond continued to show him all of her nightmares and how lonely and sad she was until the day of her wedding, where he had to step in and save her. He originally was going to stop the bargain, but he saw how pale and skinny she had gotten and couldn't leave her with Tamlin indefinitely. He then reiterated that he would never tell Feyre of the bond because he didn't want Feyre to think all he did was to benefit him, and that at the beginning, she did not like or trust him. So he just was protecting himself and her.
Exactly. Which, when the fuck was he supposed to tell her?
Yeah. Feyre then feeds him soup she heated up. And this is kind of like in the Fae world, symbolizing that she was accepting the mate bond. Feyre tells Rhys that she wants him, loves him, and is honored to be his mate. They start making out, and he lays her out on the table like a buffet. He then goes down on her. Once she has come multiple times, he takes her to the bedroom where they finally get it on. As they're going at it, Feyre finally feels the mating bond clicking into place for her. Rhys tells her he loves her again. Rhys comes, and Feyre feels complete and happy that she has accepted the bond. Rhys informs Feyre about them going back to her sister's estate because they have finally heard back from the mortal queens. Feyre and Rhys end up getting sexual again. This time, Feyre gives Rhys a blowjob before he flips her on her stomach, takes her from behind. Feyre then starts to glow, almost like starlight, and Rhys drops all his glamours. So he is full High Lord.
This gave me like Hades Persephone fucking.
Yeah. And he's showing her how her light and his dark match. They end up finishing with Feyre on top. Feyre and Rhys return home to Velaris, where the whole inner circle is waiting. They bow and say that they will serve and protect Feyre. After dinner, they all make their way to the mortal realm with the orb to share a secret they have all been personally protecting for the past 500 years. This city has been a secret for 5,000 years. Only 2 queens show up for this meeting, and the inner circle shows them the secret that is Velaris. The meeting did not go the way that they had hoped and faced pushback from the eldest and golden queen. Cassian comforted Nesta, and the queens left. The golden queen left behind a box that happened to be the second half of the book. She left a note saying that she believed them and told them not to trust the other queens, for the 6th queen was not ill. Rhys invites Nesta and Elaine to come to Velaris, but they decide to stay in the human realm. So it's been 2 days, and Amren has not broken the code. Rhys and Moore are away, so Feyre and Cassian are walking the city when a fleet of adders and lesser fairies appear flying into Velaris, attacking. Cassian's magic is not holding up against the fleet, and the Golden Queen is then dropped from the sky with a stake through her middle, eyes gouged out, and her hair shredded. The queens send their regards, along with Jurian. The army was destroying the city as Cassian and Amren tried to defend it. Feyre ran towards the Rainbow Bridge, where she used some of her water magic to create a pack of water wolves that would drown all of Hybern's soldiers, and if they went to the sky, Feyre turned them into hawks and eagles and then froze them, ultimately killing them. The adder that was under the mountain led this fleet and was escaping, so Feyre winnows into the sky to stop it. Feyre epically takes down the adder from the sky. Battle number 1 has ended. The city has been breached, but they managed to push back or kill all of Hybern's army, and the city is secure for the moment. Amren has broken the code. Feyre has to touch the cauldron and just say the specific words. The books cannot touch or bad shit will come from it. Feyre is going to go into Hybern's castle and dismantle the cauldron as Rhys stays outside so he can't be tracked. He was not a fan of this.
No, he was not.
Rhys makes Feyre choose which bedroom she would like to be theirs, and he tells her that his mom gave the ring that she took from the Weaver as a test for his future bride/mate. She would have to be smart or strong enough to get the ring back, or she wouldn't survive their marriage. He needed to know if she could sense objects of the High Fae, but his choice of item was purely selfish. The group made it to Hybern. Feyre, Cassian, Az, and Moore found the cauldron. Feyre, being entranced by the book, decides to do what Amren warned against and put the two halves together. She is unable to read the spell before Jurian appears. Jurian was a distraction as the king was able to cast a spell repressing all of their magic. The group could no longer winnow out of the castle and had walked right into the king's trap. Azrael was shot with an ash arrow dipped in poison, so the group had to follow the king into the throne room or he'd kill Az. As they appear in the throne room, guess who walks right in? Lucien and Tamlin. So Tamlin made a deal with King Hybern that if he helped return Feyre to him, he would allow the king's army to enter Prythian through his court and set up camp during war. Jurian also wanted to kill Rhys while they were at it, so they added that into the bargain. Feyre is able to break through the spell, but it's not enough. Tamlin is still going to take her, and she will be a servant to King Hybern as an additional part of the bargain. Feyre is refusing when the remaining 4 mortal queens enter with a bound and gagged Nesta and Elaine. We learn that Ianthe has been working with King Hybern when he painted her a picture of High Priestess ruling over everyone and High Lords no longer existing. So she betrayed both Feyre by bringing Feyre's sisters into this and Tamlin. Nesta and Elaine are brought as sacrifices to prove King Hybern can turn strong-willed mortals into Fae. Both Nesta and Elaine fought, but it wasn't enough, and they emerged as High Fae. Lucian then also realizes Elaine is his mate. Feyre decides to make a sacrifice for everyone, as she is able to dismantle the ward set by King Hybern, making it possible for everyone to escape. She had to pretend that she had woken up from the curse Rhys put on her, and demands for the king to break the mating bond and for him to let them go. Tamlin requests that Feyre's sisters come with him. The king grants the request and breaks the mating bond. Cassian's wings have been shredded by this blast of power, but the poison has stopped affecting Az. Moore realizes what Feyre has done with the wards, and they winnow out of the castle with Nesta and Elaine. The king thinks Feyre has the book, but Rhys took it from her before they were captured. Feyre promises Jurin and the queens she will kill them before Tamlin winnows them out. The king was able to break the bargain bond, but didn't realize that the mate bond is still intact between Feyre and Rhys. Rhys knows Feyre made the sacrifice to take down Hybern from within, so he's letting her stay with Tamlin as a spy. Rhys and Feyre also made their bond official the night before, and she is now the High Lady of the Night Court. They will rescue her when the time is right, but until then, they go to war. Feyre does a good job at convincing Tamlin that she has broken free from Rhys, but she can tell Lucian can see through her lies a little bit, or suspects it. She requests to be part of everything, unlike last time, and Tamlin agrees. Feyre is going to take down the Spring Court and Hybern from the inside. The end. Woo! Okay, wow.
So much happened.
Oh my god. And reading it back, I'm almost this was so good.
Mm-hmm.
This was so
Part
good.
3 is so good.
So good. And I have some friends who are love this series. And they're the last 200 pages of every book just go off.
Mm-hmm.
I can attest to that. Because the last 200 pages of this book, I just was just one thing after another.
And it makes all of the just doom and gloom we got in parts 1 and 2 worth it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The puzzle pieces are finally starting to show you the actual picture. I loved in part 3, all the bombs that were dropped. I love the whole thing with Rhys, how he knew from the get that Feyre was potentially his mate. And
just that whole story of when he realized they were mates. Oh, swoon.
Yeah. And then everything that he did. And there were some things that I didn't touch on in that plot point that he did, that he mentions. Everything that he does
is for her.
Is to protect her.
And then she is an ungrateful piece of shit to him.
Yeah. And
until she accepts the bond.
Right. But in that part of the book where he's telling her the full story, he also is crying as he's relaying this, because he the point where when he's I really thought that I scared Tamlin enough to send you back to the mortal realm, which is what happened in book 1. And then he was but then when you showed up under the mountain, he breaks down. You know what I mean? But he had to put on this front because he was playing this angle of he couldn't let Amarantha know that she meant something to him. He also had to keep up this, oh, I'm on Amarantha's side, I'm her whore. But this whole time, he even did that to protect his people and to protect his friends.
Yeah.
And it's just I love Rhys so much. I'm
he's such a good person.
Oh my God. It's just.
Or fairy, whatever.
I don't even care. I'm just he's amazing. And reading that, I was you are amazing. Holy shit. Oh, it was beautiful.
It was. And then I also loved I know that this part technically happened in part 2, but I loved being able to finally get the full taste of Rhys's dirty talk.
Yeah. Yep.
So when they were at the inn, Feyre was trying to get him to have sex with her, and he was just no.
This is when they just casually hook up.
Yeah.
They don't go all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we now know he didn't want to have sex with her because he wanted her to accept the mating bond before that happened.
And she said that she just wanted to have fun with him, which probably broke his fucking heart.
I know. How many times is Feyre gonna break his little heart? But he was saying how because like she wanted to, like Feyre wanted to go down on him, and like she wanted him to go down on her, and he was like this isn't happening in this tiny ass inn, because when that happens, I want to be able to let out this animalistic roar that like is loud enough to bring down mountains, and I want to have you spread out on a table and feast on you like you are my own personal feast. And then he did it when they finally did accept the mating bond, and I was like, yes.
And then he was like,
sir.
and then he was like, I can't fuck you in a room where I can't even fuck you up against a wall. And like, so she like brings that up later too, being like, I think I remember something of a wall.
It's like, oh,
And
don't
he's
worry.
Like, and he's like, Feyre, the next time I fuck you, I'll do it up against the wall. I'm just like, oh.
So good.
I love the bomb that's dropped where you realize that the mating bond has not been broken and that they were just like playing a game. Like they're very good at playing games with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so like obviously Rhys picked up on what Feyre was doing or whatever. But as readers, like I really thought, like, I almost started crying because I was like, they have to rekindle their mating bond. Like, this can't be the end of this. And then
They
when it's
barely
like,
got to like live it.
but then when it's like, you realize that it's not broken and that they like found a high priestess the night before in secret, and she is like now literally the high lady of the night court.
I want that scene.
I know. I understand why it wasn't written.
Yeah, but I wish like we got it and then like a flashback.
Yeah.
Or like an extended thing, kind of like bonus.
I know. Because that would have been nice.
'Cause I want to read that. I did love with rereading it how you're able to pick up on the hints of the mating bond, and how Rhys had like been trying to give Feyre clues to it throughout this whole thing.
Like how? What clues?
I mean, she even kind of starts to realize it, just like the "you're mine," and then
like when they first met, he was like, "There you are. I've been looking for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for finding her for me." Like he'd literally been looking for her for like years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just like reading it back. It's like, oh, there are these little clues that he was trying to like. If she just started asking questions, like, even when they went to go get the ring, she never asked why the ring was important.
Right.
But he kind of like opened it up to be like, anything you want to know?
Yeah. But I do love that he dropped those like those little hints for her. But at the end of the day, he was never going to fully force it on her or to really even tell her. Like if it never became present for her and she wasn't interested, he was going to like suffer because he would rather her just be happy. Like he was literally going to leave her to be happy with his second most hated enemy, because that's what she deserved, to be happy, whether that was with or without him. And it's just like Feyre, like it makes me even madder at Feyre though.
When you learn all the things that he did for her.
Yes, like one, that it took her so long to like get to this point, because like he had been doing all this shit from the get. And two, just like how she's acted towards him sometimes, and like saying those hurtful things to him, like all of his insecurities. You're like, you really are a fucking bitch. Because this guy has literally put himself on the line so many times for you. You didn't even realize it.
So if you actually just stopped and kind of, you know, looked around you and like were a little bit more aware of like the big picture versus just this very narrow me.
Yeah.
She could have seen it.
Yeah.
So much earlier. But like she needed to heal. She needed to get over Tamlin.
Yeah.
So I mean like the mating bond did snap in at the right time, but she didn't have to be such a bitch leading up to it.
No. I also love, I didn't mention this in the plot breakdown, but there's a scene after the cabin. So the mating bond has been secured. They've been like fucking like rabbits. And he tells her that that's like very normal. That like sometimes it takes years for mated couples to like get out of this like.
It's almost like heat.
Yeah. So they end up coming back, and like Cassian can tell and eggs on Rhys.
Oh yeah, that was so funny.
So he like comes on to Feyre, like he says something sexual kind of towards Feyre, because he knows that Rhys needs to let out all the energy before he literally like kills people, because he's so like
alpha
male. And so like they end up getting into this huge, like, almost epic fight just between the two of them.
Just
but, like,
to expend the energy.
Yeah, but it's like Cassian knows exactly what, like, he needs to do. And it's just like, I love that.
That was really fun. Speaking of Cassian, I loved his banter and dynamic with Nesta.
Love. I'm very excited for their book because they're going to be, yeah.
And I still love Nesta.
Yeah. Well, I really like Nesta now. When she was getting put in the cauldron, she was fighting her hardest. And, like, before they, like, fully dip her into the cauldron, she points at the fucking King Hybern. And, like, you can just tell it is, like, a threat. And he even seemed a little, like, taken aback by it.
Mm-hmm. And then how she, like, put the queens in their place when they were being, like, bitches about not wanting to help.
And then Feyre even, like, comments on when Nesta is, like, turned into Fae when she comes out of the cauldron, that she was like, something is a little different with Nesta. Like, the cauldron, it was almost like she fought the cauldron fought her, and she took more than what was, and I'm just like, oh my god, Nesta is about to be fucking crazy. Like, I'm very excited to see the progression with her.
I'm excited for you to read her progression.
Yeah. And now I can understand why, like, I think I'm going to start liking Nesta. I just don't think I liked Mortal Nesta. I think I'll like High Fae Nesta better.
I still hate Elaine.
Oh my god, her and Lucian being fucking... I did not see that coming. I really wanted her and Az. Like, they seemed to, like, kind of, like...
Well, just because you know who your mate is doesn't mean you have to.
I know, doesn't mean that it has to take. But, yeah, Lucian now is like, where is he?
Where is she? He's hitting that mating frenzy.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah, I still hate Elaine. The only good thing she did was, like, she was more quickly, like, willing to accept Feyre and the Night Court, like, using the house. I think it's really messed up that she got engaged to a human whose family is, like, so openly and viciously hates fairies, when Tamlin is the reason they have their wealth restored, and she continued to be engaged to him once she found out that Feyre has been turned into Fae.
And that was the whole reason they didn't go to Velaris to begin with. Because Elaine didn't want to leave her fiancé. And then they get kidnapped and turned into High Fae. If you went to Velaris...
Never would have fucking happened.
You wouldn't have been in this situation. But Elaine, because Nesta was like, I'll do whatever she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And Elaine made the call that she wanted to stay. Dumb bitch.
Hate her. I hate her.
She doesn't get any better?
Not for me.
Okay.
Maybe for you she will. I fucking hate her.
Okay. To be determined.
Hate her so much.
I hate that Jurian is back. And I hate the Mortal Queens. And I hate King Hybern.
Well, except for the one that...
Well, the Golden Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate all the living ones now. The ones that are living can all suck a dick because they act like, oh my god, High Fae, like fays, fairies, whatever, are the worst. But
turn me into one.
But that's what they ultimately want, is they want the immortality.
Yeah.
Because they're selfish, and I hope that they're not strong-willed, and I hope that the cauldron doesn't grant them immortality because it serves them fucking right.
I'll find out in the next book.
Ugh. They're the worst.
Yeah, they suck.
And the fact that they were the ones that give over Velaris. Like, I knew it was going to bite them in the butt, but, like, I still was shocked.
I mean, it was a risky call. It was the right move to make. And it's like, you know what? You've had good luck for 5,000 years. Everything else in Velaris has, like, you know, gotten shit on. So I'm sorry, it's Velaris' turn. Like, I hate it for the people because, you know, beautiful, but war's coming.
But those mortal queens suck a dick.
Yeah, they can
hate them.
They can eat shit.
Hate them.
Eat shit. You know what else can also eat shit? The way the mating bond snaps into place. That can fucking eat shit.
Why? Because they had sex?
No, about how you have to, like, the female has to present food to the male.
Oh. Well, I don't think that's how it snaps into place. I think that's
part of, like, their
it's just like the traditions where it's
it's like the tradition. That's how you prove as the woman you're accepting it.
Yeah.
What kind of patriarchal bullshit?
At least the woman gets to be the one that accepts it. They have to feed the male. If they don't feed the male, they ain't accepting it.
All right, still, that was stupid.
But yeah,
I didn't like it.
It was just a little weird.
It was just a little sexist and patriarchal.
But the whole Fae is patriarchal and and sexist.
True. So
it's on brand.
It's on brand. On brand, but I don't like it.
Fair enough.
So I think that wraps it up for our loves and hates
Yeah.
on this one. I got some fun questions for you.
Alrighty.
I'd like to kick it off with a little game. Fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
Start with book 1, ACOTAR.
Okay.
Who would you fuck? Who would you marry? Who would you kill?
Oh, out of everyone in book 1?
Let's go with the Gentle Fellows.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I think we know we want to kill Amarantha, and she does die, so, like, that's kind of moot.
Okay, I'm definitely marrying Rhys because I want to be with him forever. I think I'm killing Tamlin. He can go. And I'll fuck Lucian if it's like those 3. Those are the 3 that I'm like remembering from book 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, unless you wanted to throw the adder in there.
No, I'm good. Or the cereal. I'm good.
So I'd fuck Rhys. I'd marry Lucian.
Okay.
And I'm killing Tamlin.
Well, that's the thing, though. You marry Rhys, you're going to be fucking him.
I just one night with him will be fine. I don't want to marry him.
Oh, really?
I enjoy Rhys. I think I'd be better suited to Lucian.
Lucian would irk me.
I really like him.
He's all right.
I've read more, though.
Rhys is my man's.
Rhys is fantastic. I do want to experience him once.
Okay.
But I don't want the headaches of, like, being with a High Lord like that.
That's true. Fair enough.
All right, ACOMAF. Fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, man.
But we can't kill Hybern because he is needed for the next story.
Okay.
That's the only one you can't kill. I mean, he is the obvious choice.
Yeah. I'm still going to kill Tamlin. Fuck Tamlin.
Well, he's already dead because we killed him in the first book.
Okay.
Or unless you do want that to be yours, then that's fine. 'Cause I got another pick.
Okay, so I think... Ooh, this one's tough because all 3 of the, like, inner circle dudes are top notch. So I'm just trying to decide. No, don't go first because I don't want it. Okay, I think that I would go... I think I would still marry Rhys, fuck Cassian, and I would kill the adder.
Beautiful. So I am fucking Cassian.
Okay.
I'm going to marry Tarkin.
Okay.
And I'm going to kill Kier, Moore's dad.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, he can peace out.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I like those. Okay. What's next?
Pick your current ACOTAR boyfriend.
Rhys. Hands down.
Figured.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine's Lucian.
Yeah, I figured after your book 1, Mary.
Maybe Cassian. No, I would want to kill Cassian. But, that could lead to some fun times in the bedroom. No toss up between those 2.
Interesting. Okay.
I love Azriel, but he's a little too sad boy for me.
Yeah, he gives me emo boy.
Like, love
You know
him.
what I mean?
Love him. I just want to, like, cuddle and protect him from everything.
But also he's too wrapped up in Moore.
Yeah.
I don't want that drama.
No.
Because I want to be besties with Moore and Amryn.
That is my next one. Pick your friend squad.
Okay, so my friend squad is going to be Amryn, Moore, and Nesta. Because they all bad bitches.
Mm-hmm. Mine is Amryn, Nesta, and Cassian.
Okay. I like that.
I
do like Cassian.
That's going to be my gang right there. Which court would you want to live at and which one would you not?
So I would not want to live at the summer court. That seemed like Florida. As in the weather. I listen to Feyre's like inner monologue about how like hot and like humid and like always summer. Kill me. I know. It's complete opposites, Alex and I. Mm-hmm. Florida, New York. So summer court, I would never visit.
Okay, so that's your not.
No. And honestly, I would want to live in the night court if I was in Velaris.
Yeah.
If I was anywhere else, absolutely not. The spring court just has its own issues. I think spring would be nice, like weather-wise. I think it would be a nice actual place to live. But like, I want to kill Tamlin. I don't want him to be my High Lord. And they all had to wear those masks. They were cursed for 50 years. I'm good on that. The autumn court, like Lucian's family, I'm good. Even though October is the best month and that falls in autumn. But like, I'm good if they're the ruling family. And then, I mean, we really haven't gotten into like the day court.
I like the ruler of the day court, but I just don't know if I'd want to live somewhere where it's daylight all the time.
Yeah. It would be like Alaska in the summertime.
Yep.
Never dark. Yeah.
So mine is Velaris. Like you said, night court only if I can be in Velaris. If not, then fuck it.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go to summer court.
Yeah.
Give me that summer weather all the time. Please and thank you.
You can keep that.
Sounds great. I also want to marry Tarquin, so.
Perfect. It lines up.
We line up.
It lines up.
It's great. Not the winter court. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm not going
winter all the time.
Nope. I'm not going there.
Anything else?
No, those are my fun questions.
Oh, okay. That was fun.
I thought that would be kind of nice and lighthearted to get us out of the heaviness that was
this book. Yeah.
So is it time to cast?
I think it is. Okay, let's start with Ianthe.
All right. I picked Ali Mashaka.
That's a good one. I could see that. I went Anna Lynn McCord from 90210.
Yeah.
They do have very similar vibes.
Very similar.
Yeah. Because also, like, her character on 90210, very conniving. Mm-hmm. She plays that very well. So I thought that was very on brand.
Very.
Who did you cast for your Moor?
Irina Shayak. She's a Russian model.
Oh, okay.
I probably did the last name incorrectly.
Butchered it. No. Okay, cool. I went Anya Taylor-Joy from The Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
She gives me very Faye. Like, her bone structure.
Oh, for sure.
And, like, she's so, like, skinny and petite. Like, and the blonde hair. Like, she just gives me... I was like, she needs to be cast in this somehow. What about your Amryn?
Florence, I'm probably going to butcher this last name again, and I'm so sorry. Vanadia Favrev?
Okay.
She's a French and Thai actress. She was in some sort of Marvel, Agents of Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Thing. Yeah, that's my Amryn.
Cool. I went with Camilla Mendez from Riverdale.
That's a good one.
Yeah, she kind of gives me Amryn a little bit.
That very harsh face, but like still beautiful.
Yeah, like the dark hair, dark features.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move into our boo things. Who did you cast as your Cassian? Oh God, I don't like this look.
And I'm just afraid of the judgment I may or may not receive.
Okay.
On this pick, but I'm gonna stand by it. Damian Priest from WWE.
Okay. See, like big dude. Oh yeah, for sure. I could see that. Now, going into my casting, you're gonna have to use your imagination that this person can act and add in some like wigs, okay? Because he's not an actor or anything.
I'm scared.
I went Blake Griffin, the NBA basketball player, solely because his build, he looks like he's 6'8", ripped, okay. Add some tattoos, put him in like a wig with like darker hair. And then obviously, like, if he acted. But yeah, I'm going with Blake Griffin.
Okay.
I've had to start venturing out of actors. You can't just cast the same, like, 3 bulky dudes.
True.
It's hard. You gotta, like, venture into athletes.
I mean, at least we know WWE people can kind of act.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. Moving on to our sad boy, Azriel. Who did you cast?
Gavin Leatherwood from The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Oh, okay. I like that. Okay.
Very emo show.
Yeah.
Very emo boy. You know, our Azriel. Emo boy.
He is an emo boy. So I went with Agustin Bernasconi. He is an Argentinian actor / musician.
Ooh, he's hot.
Yeah, because I think Azriel's still, like, very, very good looking. Yeah, he's giving me...
I like that a lot. I like that one a lot.
So, yeah. So, those are our casting. Don't come at us too hard. If you want some visuals, head over to our Instagram or TikTok, Emotions and Potions Pod. And now I guess it's time to soundtrack this bitch.
Whoop, whoop.
Okay, Alex, start us off. What's your first?
All right, so my first category has 3 songs in it. I'm sorry, I'm pulling a U.
Wow, I didn't even do that. Okay.
You've done it before, though.
Oh, I've done it multiple times before.
But it's going to make sense. So these are Feyre's songs to Tamlin, like, during different parts of her, like, emotional journey with him.
Okay.
We got If I'm Being Honest by Anna Klending, Midnight Rain, Taylor Swift, and Strangers, Stereo Jane.
Nice. That does kind of sum up.
Kind of like the highs and lows.
Throughout
or just
there.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
Her reckoning, like, with him.
So I kind of have a similar theme. Mine's just Feyre's breakup song for Tamlin, which He Wasn't by Avril Lavigne.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. The next one is Rhysand Heining for Feyre. How to Be Yours, Chris Rosinma.
Okay. And I kind of had a similar theme. Mine was Reese's love song to Feyre from The Get from the very, very beginning. And it's Can I Be Him by James Arthur.
Oh.
I know, right?
Poor Rhys.
I know.
Then I do have a song for Feyre while she was like coming into and like reclaiming her power. Cinderella's Dead by Emmeline.
And so I kind of had a similar...
Look at us.
Yeah, mine was Feyre coming into her face self and shedding her human self. And it's R.I.P. by Rita Ora and Teeny Tempa.
Ooh, also shout out to the other R.I.P. song that's on that playlist.
By Olivia O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That was a close one too.
And then I do have a Mating Bond song.
Ooh, okay.
Cosmic Love, Florence and the Machine.
Nice. That's good. I have a Feyre realizing she actually loves Rhys. And that's I Found by Amber Run.
Love that. I got a song for the Inner Circle. Like all of them together. Trouble, Valerie Broussard.
Nice.
I see trouble coming.
And I also have a Rhys's Inner Circle anthem, which is Team by Lorde.
Look at us being like almost.
I know, we really did.
I do have a song for the ladies.
Okay.
More Amryn and Feyre. I am not a woman, I'm a god.
Halsey. Love. My next category is what could have been between Feyre and Tamlin, but is not. And that's Now by Olivia O'Brien.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I got a song for the Bat Boys.
Okay.
Wolves, Sam, Tinez, and Silverberg.
Nice. Okay. I like that.
It's like when the wolves come out to play sort of thing. Oh,
yes. Yeah. Love it. My next is Feyre and Rhys's Sexy Time song.
Ow.
And it's Worship You by Martin Jensen and Karen Hardingling. I don't really know how you say your last name, but it's good. It's sexy.
All right, I got a song for Feyre and Amryn after the summer court heist.
Okay.
Wanted Woman, AC/DC from Larkin Poe.
Nice. I like that. Very on brand. And so my last category is Velaris' theme song.
Ooh.
And that is The City is Contagious by The Cab.
Nice. My song title, kind of similar, but different vibe. This is a song for the essence of like the ridiculous vibes throughout the book while like the night court is trying to like end or at least prepare for like Hybern's bullshit. The city is at war. Cobra Starship.
Oh, so good. Love that. I think our soundtrack is pretty damn good for this book.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very impressed with us. So make sure you head over to our Spotify if you want to listen.
Emotions and Potions Pod.
Yup. And then obviously that is also our handle for all of our socials. Follow, tweet, or I always say tweet. We don't have Twitter.
We don't do that one.
Like, DM, follow, whatever.
Subscribe, leave a rating, share.
Yes.
What are the other positive things? I don't know.
I think that's good enough.
If you know it, do it.
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay, moving on to our ratings. So what did you give this spice rating?
A 3.
Me too. They were spicy. They were full on, but there were only like 2.
And for as thick as this is,
I will say I was complaining internally that it was taking Feyre way too long. Well, it was taking Feyre and Rhys way too long to get it on in this book.
I know. Could I at least have read about like Cassian getting like his dick wet or like someone else having sex? Would have been lovely.
Because once we got it, it was great. But then the book was over and they're separated. So
there puts the kibosh on sexy time for a while.
Yeah, I'm like, great. And then what about your overall rating? I gave it a 9 out of 10. I really like this book.
I think I'm going to have to agree. A 9 out of 10. Because even like some of my complaints aren't necessarily with like the plot per se. At least not big ones. Like my big complaints are more about the characters. But it's like it makes sense for the book.
Right.
So it's not like a fault of it. And I still enjoy it. And like I'm kind of happy. It still makes me angry at points. Like,
yeah.
The book evokes emotion.
Yeah.
It's supposed to.
Exactly.
It's supposed to elicit a response.
Yeah. I just had a hard time setting it down.
Yeah. It is good.
I was very enraptured in it.
And even when I just get mad, I'm like, it's such a damn good.
Yeah, because I know that, like, even when I was starting to get irritated or mad, I knew that I would get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew something would happen where I was like, okay, love it again. Here we are.
That doesn't mean characters and the plot is without its flaws, because both have it.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's a series I would reread, and I have reread it. And as I have reread it, I've found new things.
Yeah, I mean, this is a book or a series that I'm glad that I have purchased because, You know, I was skeptical book 1. It took me a while to get into it, but I think it's going to pay off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really enjoying it now.
So I think a 9 is
Yay. And then
solid.
love or hate letter.
It's a love.
It's a love.
It's a love. Book 1 was a soft love. This one is full on
Oh,
love.
this is full on love. No softness about it.
No.
All right. Well, that is another episode of Emotions and Potions where we covered the second book in the ACOTAR series.
A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas.
And it was a love letter, hands down.
Yay.
So make sure you follow, you like us, tell us what you want us to read next, tell your friends.
I hope you're enjoying this ACOTAR journey we're going on.
Yeah, maybe we'll do book 3.
I think we probably will because you've already started reading it.
I know. I just got it in the mail today. Thank you, Amazon.
We might as well continue.
Right.
Let us know once we're done with this what you want to hear.
Yes. Our DMs are always open.
Yeah.
But until then,
Bye.